All we know about these people are what you're telling us. So if you wanted to blot out their memory, maybe just don't tell this story. Oi, welcome to Joel Reads Bible. I'm Joel and I'm reading the Bible so you don't have to. If you didn't understand that because I spoke a completely different dialect, I said, welcome to Joel Reads Bible. I'm Joel. I read Bible so that you don't have to. And we're reading Exodus. Exodus, which is the story of the Israelites locked in alleged slavery in Egypt and then being led out of this alleged slavery by their God who only loves them and no one else. And that happens in the first 12 chapters. Now we're at the 17th chapter, and they're just hanging out in the desert, which isn't as interesting, I guess. There is some magic going on, and at least we're getting a break from God being kind of a jerk, dare I say, a violent, barbaric maniac, doing juvenile and sometimes terrible magic tricks to show off to other gods that almost certainly do exist in the narrative of the Bible. I feel like Exodus is over. This should be a new chapter, which is called The Desert Years. And then later on, the moving into a new place, house hunting, genocide edition, or something like that. And by the way, I hate it because I know I'm moving ahead and I'm already painting a picture. This is because I've heard that this happens. Honestly, I could read it and be like, no, this is all reasonable. So I should actually keep an open mind, and I apologize. Okay, I'm saying atheist rhetoric right now, and that's wrong. That's not what I'm meaning to do. But it is a funny little joke. I'm gonna try to stay in the moment, stay present, stay here in Exodus. We're at chapter 17. The Israelites were just gifted manna, and that's all they're going to eat, manna and quail for 40 years. So let's get into it here, chapter 17. And as I always say, please subscribe, please like the video, and please leave me a comment. This is the only reason why I get up in the morning. Sorry. It's the only reason. Oh, I didn't know this would be so hard. It's the only reason why I get up in the morning. All right, let's go. Exodus chapter 17. The whole Israelite community set out from the desert of sin, traveling from place to place as the Lord commanded. They camped at Rephidim, but there was no water for the people to drink. So they quarreled with Moses and said, "Give us water to drink, you think?" They keep doing this. I get it. They've got the manna. They're like, we love the manna. But, and the quail's good too. But, too much of these crackers are just drying out the mouth. You can't eat a whole sleeve of manna without a drink of water. You just can't do it. I'm parched. I don't have any more saliva. I can't properly masticate. I said masticate. Moses replied, "Why do you quarrel with me? Why do you put the Lord to the test?" What's the test? They're like, we are gonna die of dehydration. P.S. God created us to need water. Then he put us in a desert. This is just where we live. This is where we started. This was where he put, I guess there was a Garden of Eden here somewhere. Anyway, years later, we're wandering around a desert. We just came out of this slavery, which was very comfortable, by the way. And yeah, we're grumbling and kind of PO'd that we don't have water. Is that too much to ask? We can't really materialize water here, buddy. You know who can? Mr. Materializer, God. But the people were thirsty for water, and they grumbled against Moses. They said, "Why did you bring us up out of Egypt? To make us, our children, and livestock die of thirst?" I really love these guys because, I love Jewish television shows, movies, and things. And every time these Hebrews talk, I really can hear it. Why did you bother bringing us up out of Egypt? So that us and our whole families will die of thirst? Like, seriously, was that a good idea? It's kind of perfect. The culture is already there. You know what I mean? I love that. I actually, I'm not a fan of this book necessarily. I feel like we could dump it, but I do like the people. Then Moses cried out to the Lord, "What am I to do with these people? They are almost ready to stone me." Is this the first mention of stoning? It really shows like a time in history. How are we going to execute people? How are we going to kill all these people? Throw rocks at them for a while? Just like throw rocks so it bashes their body till they die? Should we push a big stone on them and just like crush them and kill them? No, we'll just like throw a bunch of stones that we have lying around at them and hit them with them till they die. Why don't we do something more humane? We can't think of anything else, and we don't really have the apparati. We don't really have the apparati for that. Which, by the way, if God ever suggests stoning, right? If he's ever like, stone him, that's a good idea. That's crazy. Don't you think he'd be more like, hey, let me teach you guys about certain gases you can use to go softly into that good night. Don't throw rocks at someone, which, by the way, is brutal. And it's going to be hard on you to watch someone slowly die being pummeled by rocks. Nobody would want to do that. So anyway, hopefully he'll never suggest this stoning of people. That would just be barbaric and certainly of a time. But, for a timeless being, they would not need to resort to just the way that they do things at the time. The Lord answered Moses, "Walk on ahead of the people, take with you some of the elders of Israel, and take in your hand the staff with which you struck the Nile, and go. I will stand there before you by the rock at Horeb. Strike the rock, and water will come out of it for the people to drink." So Moses did this in the sight of the elders of Israel, and he called the place Massah and Meribah. Both Massah and Meribah. Great. Because the Israelites quarreled, and because they tested the Lord, saying, "Is the Lord among us or not?" Now keep in mind that when God drowned all the Egyptians, the Israelites were like, point proven. The Lord is on our side. We are huge fans. He nailed it. He has shown his strength. He's shown that he loves us. He's shown that we're his guys. So we're really happy with the Lord. But now they're like, is God even here? And God doesn't seem that happy about the testing, or at least Moses doesn't seem that happy about the testing. But God does do things to show himself. So I'm not really sure what his attitude is directly when it comes to testing. He tests them, so that way it's fine. We know that way it's good. He's tested Abraham. Testing is a good thing because God does it and he's all good. So if he does it, it must be a good thing. But it might not be good when it's turned around. Maybe God just proves himself when he's not asked. But he might be kind of finicky and particular about being tested. He might not want somebody to, test him purposely and directly. That might be too much for him. He might just do certain things to show his power, and they go, okay, that is basically what I would have wanted from a test anyway, and so no need to test or something. I don't know. The Amalekites came and attacked the Israelites at Rehidim. Moses said to Joshua, "Choose some of our men and go out to fight the Amalekites. Tomorrow I will stand on top of the hill with the staff of God in my hands." So Joshua fought the Amalekites as Moses had ordered, and Moses and Aaron and Hur went to the top of the hill. Okay, is it just me? I don't know, I never say that. Is it just me? Is it just me, or is this the first mention of Joshua? Now, anybody that knows anything about Bible knows that Joshua is one of the heavy hitters. He's one of the main characters. I think there might even be a book named after him. But this is just like one of those things where you go, I was hanging out with Kevin and Jake and Henry the other day, oh, why are you talking about them like I know who they are? We know who Aaron is, but we don't know who Hur is or Joshua. Just like new guys have just popped in. No mention of Joshua before, so... As long as Moses held up his hands, the Israelites were winning. But whenever he lowered his hands, the Amalekites were winning. When Moses' hands grew tired, they took a stone and put it under him, and he sat on it. Aaron and Hur held his hands up, one on one side and one on the other, so that his hands remained steady until sunset. So Joshua overcame the Amalekite army with the sword. Or was it from Moses arbitrarily holding his hands up? This would be different if we got some sort of a prescription by God, to be like, hey, if you want to win this one, hold out your hands. And that's, for some reason, I like that. But it just seems like a random thing, like, let's see if this works. And he's holding his hands up. I have a feeling, and I don't know this. Again, this is me reading at face value. I don't know that people are going to go, well, did Jesus hold his hands out in cross? If Moses was doing this, then that's a reference to Jesus. That's a reference to Jesus Christ. Because he's holding his hands up, right? I don't know if this is a reference to Jesus Christ, because I don't know if he died on the cross like this. But I have a feeling that Christians are going to try to make this about Jesus. They'd probably say that this was Moses winning over evil, and Jesus conquered evil or something. The neat thing is, if Christians don't say this, and I'm assuming that they do, you can say that because you can make it say anything. This is something that seems to me to be, as I've said many times in Genesis, an interesting little Hebrew folk tale. In this case, I would call it a myth because it's got the God part of it. But it's just like, look, there's going to be a battle between these Amalekites and the Hebrews. And let's make it interesting, because if we just have them fight and win, that is not interesting. It isn't. You'd have to describe the battle, which is also very complicated. You'd have to get into details of battle, right, to keep it engaging. So we can add some sort of a weird supernatural magical thing where Moses just holds his hands up. And then he gets tired and he sits on a rock, and then Aaron and this guy named Hur, but just holds up the arm. And that makes for a more interesting story. I feel like there's not much more to it than that, but I'm guessing that a lot of people think there is. Then the Lord said to Moses, "Write this on a scroll as something to be remembered, and make sure that Joshua hears it, because I will completely blot out the memory of Amalek from under heaven." This is a time in the Bible when it directly contradicts itself. And I don't know if you guys are noticing this. It just doesn't make coherent sense. Write this on a scroll as something to be remembered. Let's remember this. I need you and everyone else to remember this. And make sure that Joshua hears it. What is he hearing? That the arm thing? Did he not know the arm thing? Is that what we're assuming? Why? Because I will completely blot out the memory of Amalek from under heaven. But you didn't, did you? Because you wrote it down in a scroll as something to be remembered. So there is a memory of Amalek written down here because of that scroll. God, you shot yourself in the foot on this one, buddy. If you didn't want the memory of Amalek, you shouldn't have written it down in the scroll. I don't even know if there's any other memory of Amalek or the Amalekites anywhere else in human history. I feel like it might just be a made-up group of people in this book, but I don't know. But you're literally remembering them through this. It's not a good memory. They seem like lousy people. They attacked these Israelites when they were down, which I think is what's going to come back to bite them in the ass. But all we know about these people are what you're telling us. So if you wanted to blot out their memory, maybe just don't tell this story. The arm thing seemed completely arbitrary and pointless. So there wasn't much to the tale at all. Maybe it's useful as an apologetic so that when there's some genocides later, you can point to this and be like, see, deserved. But look, I don't know what I'm talking about. And I promised you guys I wouldn't talk about stuff that happens later because I don't want to spoil it. Moses built an altar and called it, "The Lord is my banner." He said, "For hands were lifted up to the throne of the Lord will be at war against the Amalekites from generation to generation." Amen. I hope that when you guys are listening to this, and I really, really wish that I had or have Christians watching these videos, because one theme that you can find right from the get-go, right from Genesis, is a theme of vengeance, revenge, punishment. They're going to get theirs. These people are going to be cursed. We're going to get them. They're not going to get away with this. All these generations are going to be cursed. We're going to see that this group of people as a people are punished for whatever this is. And it's coming from God. Whenever you're going to read something good, something positive, where it's like, you're going to get this land, it's just to a specific tribe, right? Just one group. You're my people. You're going to get this land. That's basically it. You're going to have a lot of descendants. It's very obvious that this is a war god. And he's not kind of a fan of everyone, and he's not really out there to be kind or good or loving or any of those things. He's not full of mercy. He's full of wrath. He's full of vengeance. And maybe some of you think that that's righteous. I'm not so confident. I feel like there's other ways to work these things out. But I will just leave that there, that this God of war, Yahweh, has been consistently vengeful and hateful to most of the races that are not Hebrew. God so loved the world. Really? Really? In light of this? Really? Come on. You know better than that. You know how words work. So anyway, we'll see you next time for chapter 18. Subscribe, comment, and like this video. And I love you all very much. I didn't want to cry. I honestly didn't want to cry.